You're watching the news, scrolling through updates, and the headlines hit hard. Israel and Iran are locked in a dangerous escalation, trading missile strikes that have already claimed lives and reshaped the Middle East's fragile balance. This isn't just another distant conflict, it's a crisis that could ripple across the globe, affecting everything from oil prices to international security. You've likely seen the images of explosions lighting up the night skies over Tel Aviv and Tehran, heard the urgent calls for de-escalation, and wondered what this means for the world you live in. This is the story you've been searching for, a clear, unflinching look at why this conflict is spiraling, how it's impacting millions, and what it could mean for you, whether you're in the US, UK, Canada, or Australia. Let's dive into the heart of the Israel-Iran conflict, unpacking its causes, consequences, and the stakes for the world. The conflict erupted on June 13, 2025, when Iran launched a barrage of ballistic missiles targeting Israeli military sites and nuclear facilities, a direct response to Israel's surprise airstrikes on Iranian military and nuclear infrastructure. This wasn't a sudden flare-up, but the culmination of decades of shadow warfare, now bursting into open hostility. Iran's missiles, including Foto 110 and Shahab-3 variants, struck key Israeli cities like Tel Aviv and Haifa, killing at least 8 and injuring dozens. Israel's Iron Dome intercepted many, but some missiles broke through, causing significant damage. In retaliation, Israel struck Iran's defense ministry, oil facilities, and even state television during a live broadcast, plunging Tehran into chaos. Iran's health ministry reports 224 deaths, mostly civilians, with over 1,200 hospitalized. These numbers aren't just statistics, they represent families shattered, homes destroyed, and a region teetering on the edge of wider war. Why is this happening now? The roots lie in a toxic mix of geopolitical rivalry and strategic calculations. Israel's strikes targeted Iran's nuclear program, which Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claims has been set back a very long time. Iran, with the Middle East's largest missile arsenal, sees itself as a regional powerhouse and views Israel's actions as an existential threat. For years, the two nations have clashed indirectly through proxies: Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and the Houthis in Yemen. But the current direct confrontation, the deadliest in decades, marks a dangerous shift. Israel's attacks killed 6 senior Iranian military commanders and nuclear scientists, disrupting Iran's chain of command. Iran's retaliatory missile strikes, meanwhile, have shown its ability to hit Israeli population centers, a capability that has shaken the region's sense of security. The human cost is staggering. In Israel, emergency services reported 3 elderly civilians killed in Monday's strikes, with over 70 injured. In Iran, the bombing of civilian infrastructure, including a hospital in Kermanshah and state TV headquarters, has fueled outrage. Iran's foreign ministry insists these were not surgical strikes, but deliberate attacks on civilians, a claim Israel denies. Beyond the immediate casualties, the conflict has displaced thousands. Airports across Iran and neighboring countries like Iraq and Jordan are closed, stranding travelers. Pakistan has shut its border with Iran and Russia's. Aeroflot cancelled flights to Tehran. For ordinary people, this means disrupted lives, fear of further strikes, and uncertainty about the future. You might wonder how this affects you, thousands of miles away. The answer lies in the broader implications, which we'll explore next. Economically, the conflict threatens global stability. Iran's oil infrastructure, hit hard by Israeli strikes, is a critical piece of the world's energy puzzle. JP Morgan warns that oil prices could spike to $120 per barrel if Iran's production is severely disrupted, a scenario that would hit economies in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia hard. Higher oil prices mean increased costs for fuel, heating, and goods, squeezing household budgets. India, heavily reliant on Middle Eastern oil, faces risks to its economic growth, and similar pressures could ripple through global markets. Trade routes are also under threat, with missiles crossing airspace and ports like Haifa targeted. This disruption could drive up shipping costs, delaying goods and inflating prices for everything from electronics to groceries. For you, this could mean higher prices at the pump and in stores, a direct consequence of a conflict half a world away. The geopolitical fallout is equally alarming. The United States, a staunch Israeli ally, is walking a tightrope. President Donald Trump has denied direct US involvement, but has repositioned warships and aircraft to protect American troops and support Israel's defense. His mixed messaging praising Israel's strikes as excellent while urging Tehran to evacuate has raised fears of miscalculation. Iran has warned it could target US bases in Syria or elsewhere if it perceives American complicity. Such an escalation could draw the US, and potentially NATO allies like the UK and Canada, into a broader conflict. The G7, meeting in Canada, is pressing for de-escalation, but Trump's early departure from the summit to address the crisis suggests diplomacy is taking a back seat. For Australia, with its strategic interests in the Indo-Pacific, a destabilised Middle East could complicate alliances and trade partnerships. The risk of a wider regional war looms large. Israel's strikes on Iran's Revolutionary Guard and nuclear facilities have weakened Tehran's military, but Iran's missile barrages show it's far from defenseless. Both sides are dug in, with Netanyahu refusing to rule out targeting Iran's supreme leader and Iran vowing proportional retaliation. Neighbouring countries are already feeling the heat. Iraq's airports are closed, and Jordan has suspended flights. The conflict could embolden Iran's proxies, like Hezbollah, to open new fronts or pull in other powers, like Russia or China, which have called for restraint but maintain ties with Iran. For you, this raises the spectre of a global security crisis, where alliances are tested and the threat of terrorism or cyber attacks already a concern with Israel's warnings of Iranian cyber campaigns grows. What makes this conflict so volatile is its nuclear dimension. Israel's strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities aimed to cripple its ability to develop weapons, but they've also inflamed tensions. Iran claims its intelligence services uncovered Israeli nuclear secrets, escalating the stakes. A misstep here could trigger catastrophic consequences, not just for the region, but for global non-proliferation efforts. You might ask, how does this affect the push for peace? Diplomacy is struggling. Planned US-Iran nuclear talks in Oman were cancelled, and while Trump hints at a possible deal, the rhetoric from both sides suggests little appetite for compromise. The EU and G7 are calling for restraint, but without a clear off-ramp, the cycle of retaliation continues.